Rupert was a very quiet man. He was very calm. If anything troubled or worried him, you wouldn't know about it. Kept a lot of emotions to himself. He's an incredible family man, very loyal to family.
Very strong and proud man. And he worked hard for everything that he had. Yeah, so the first time I heard about it was when he got really annoyed that his driving licence was taken away, because prior to that, if anything happened, because my dad was quite proud and private, he would keep it all to himself. So it wasn't until his driving licence was taken away that obviously it became serious then, that his freedom was being stripped of him. So it's at that point when he became very annoyed, frustrated, upset, and it just meant that all the things that he was able to do on a day-to-day basis was now taken away. Things like going out with family, having the freedom to go and see his friends when he wanted to, all that was, slowly being stripped away from him. So when he told me, I was actually thinking everything will be fine. I was like, just show them your passport, show them that obviously that you have the right to be here, it will all be fine. And it's only when things started moving in a different direction that I was actually in disbelief that it could even happen. If you have all the documents and you have the passport and all the stamps, how can this happen? I couldn't believe it. And then normally you read about these sort of things in the newspaper, but it's actually happening to my dad, and it was just total shock. I don't actually have an answer to that. I don't know, because it wasn't just one person failing; it was so many failings. So I still don't understand how that could happen. I don't know.
I would say there's an institution there that has certain policies and procedures in place that affect a certain demographic in this country, and I think they get harsher treatment in my eyes in comparison to many others. Unfortunately, my dad was a part of that demographic, which for them it was easier to exploit. It was easier to try and take, maybe as it was, money from them, or try and get them out of the country. It was, for me, it was because of the fact that they were not British. This was, for me, is why they were personally, in my eyes, were targeted in comparison, I believe, to many others. It's the fact that he was Jamaican, the fact that he was from the Caribbean, the fact that he was not born here. He was an easy target.
At that time, I've been dealing with quite a lot of Windrush cases. Windrush cases are those people who came in a long, long time ago. And the curious thing is that they were actually invited to come into the UK because there was a job shortage. Around about 2009 onwards, what happened was that the Home Office destroyed all the previous records. And around about 2014, they introduced laws which made it harder for people without documents to get benefits, to get work, etc. And that's when the whole Windrush thing started. thing about Rupert, he comes in, sits down in front of me, and he's got all the documents. Yeah? He's got all the documents, passports from about 10, 20 years ago, yeah? And a stamp, permanent stay stamp, which was issued by this country, yeah? A year before he came to see me. Yeah? And I just thought, this is going to be dead straightforward. That's what I think I still find shocking. I've been dealing with lots and lots of immigration cases, and I know exactly who the government target, why they target them. Yeah? But I must admit that this is actually one of the most shocking cases I've come across. Yeah? I must admit I've never come across a case where somebody had all the documentary proof, yeah? Everything. Yeah? That's what shocked me. Yeah? And I thought it'd get sorted out very quickly, yeah? And it didn't. Yeah? If you look at the report of the ombudsman, there were 4 different departments that totally mishandled his case. Absolutely, utterly mishandled his case. Yeah. Part of it is that what they did was get totally unqualified people, law graduates, to make decisions on asylum cases. Yeah. They didn't care. Yeah. The whole culture of the Home Office developed was we do not believe anybody who's black, essentially, okay, who we come across. Right? So Rupert goes there, hands across his passports. Passports show absolute proof of his status in the UK. They just say we don't believe it. In his case, they actually sent the passports to the fraud office, okay, to make sure that they were not forced. And the ombudsman points out that there's actually no reason given as to why that happened. Yeah? And that's how I think you need to understand it. You've got politicians who drive what happens, and you've got a set of civil servants who just follow it. Yeah? And that's the trap that Rupert was caught in. Yeah? It didn't matter what he said, it didn't matter what he produced. The whole thing is, you're not meant to be here. We're going to make life as uncomfortable, as hostile for you as possible. Yeah? I mean, it's really unfortunate that Rupert passed away, yeah? And it's only through the persistence of the sisters that we ended up going outside the Home Office into the Ombudsman, yeah? And it's the Ombudsman who's actually discovered all this. And the Ombudsman report makes appalling reading. They were absolutely shocked. People sometimes think that's very glib in terms of saying it's to do with racism. It's my experience in the work I do, work I do all the time. Yeah? One of the Windrush cases was somebody who'd been in the UK since 68. Yeah? What he did, he didn't have any documents because he came in when he was a kid. The school he went to had been demolished, didn't have any records. Yeah? He then claimed benefit. And what happened is the benefit got in touch with the Home Office to find out whether he'd got status. The Home Office came back and said, we've never heard of him, he's not in our records, okay? Therefore he doesn't have status. 2 things there. They got rid of the records, okay? So they'd have no proof anyway. Okay? The second thing, okay? So, let's say, and this is the situation, right? A white person with no documents at all, speaks perfect English like my client did, okay? Goes to DWP, claims benefit. Okay? This person, my client, had a national insurance number. White person, national insurance number. Okay? Are they going to contact the Home Office? Okay? Answer, I think, is no. Okay? The reason I'm saying that is that if the Home Office are contacted on behalf of the majority of the population, they will have no records on it. That's because the majority of the population will not have had contact with the Home Office. Yeah? In that case, the client had his benefit stopped. Well, actually, no. Benefit refused. Okay? He'd been granted benefits about 10 years before. Okay? They then sent him a bill for £30,000 for every single benefit that he'd had in the past. Who to blame is a really difficult question. Yeah? I think that it's because essentially black people have been demonised and you have a situation whereby they're not treated as human. Okay? None of the people that dealt with him viewed him as a human being. They viewed him as a statistic. They viewed him as somebody that they could add to their file, as somebody who does not have status. Because part of what was happening was that Amber Rudd was the Home Secretary at that point. Okay? Because of the language that she used, the Home Office set agendas and targets for the number of people it's going to remove. That's it. See, everybody he dealt with actually did not care about Rupert as an individual. And that, I think, was the essential problem. Rupert took along all the passports with status and showed them to an immigration officer. And the immigration officer ignored them and said, you're still going to get deported. I mean, that's appalling. The immigration officer did not view Rupert as somebody who was somebody's father, grandfather, or as a human.
It makes me feel angry, especially when it's not just happened to my dad. There's many other people out there that it's happened to. Many other families' lives have been ruined, and it doesn't seem like it's changing. It doesn't seem like it's getting any better. So I am frustrated and I'm angry.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting in terms of because of the publicity about this case. I was approached by 3 different people. And I think it's interesting in terms of, the Windrush stuff occurred a few years ago. You would have thought that all those people had got status, etc. But there's still people out there. There's people who are worried about whether they've got the right to remain in the UK because the effects of all the publicity, is that there are people who are still getting deported. A fundamental thing would be realisation that everybody's equal, not just the rhetoric in terms of saying everybody's equal. A deep-seated acknowledgement, acceptance that everybody is equal. Change is not going to come from inside the government. Change is going to come from outside. Change is going to come from black people asserting. No, in a sense, it's not asserting the rights. It's asserting their humanity. And even the equality, theoretical equality we've now got, has been achieved through struggle. And young people should be doing this.
Yeah, we have to keep connected, I think. Just stop, get off the phones really. It's just keep educating yourself about how this country works, the history of this country, whether it's the Windrush generation or many things that have happened, the miners' strike, all these other things that have built up where we are today. And I think when we keep continuing to look back at the history, we can change tomorrow, we can change all these type of things. But I think, unfortunately, what's happening is we are becoming, well, not all, but we are becoming more disconnected from politics. You can't have life, for me, without politics in the same breath.
I want them to recognise that racism is real in the UK. I would like them to recognise the roots of racism, the rhetoric that leads to it, the structure that leads to it. It is a real factor in every facet of a black person's life.
I would add to that, don't underestimate the strength that you have within yourself and as a collective of people here in the UK. And we have fought through the ages many fights to be where we are here today, and we will still continue. But don't underestimate it, and talk, communicate, speak to someone if somebody is going through, and let them know that they are supported and there is support out there.